Hello there and welcome once again to yet another episode of Colors of India. Springtime is most definitely fun time, as can be seen by the different programs that are happening all across town. And from all of them, we bring you a selection of hand-picked events. Let's begin by taking a quick look at our top stories. Let's jazz up the evening and then dance to a Kathak. On Food Trail, we travel to the heartland of human civilization. So are you ready for a sensational evening? Because we bring you all that jazz to spice up your Sunday.
Blue and booming with energy was Nehru Park, hosting Delhi's very own jazz festival. As the park turned into a twilight zone and the gates glowed with a neon blue tinge, jazz lovers trickled inside to grab the best seats available. ICCR's third International Jazz Festival, a tool for a cultural dialogue, invited 14 bands from 11 countries this year. And their first day kick-started with a bang with Poland's Newborn Quintet, Switzerland's Sylvie Bobun and Colombia's Oscar Acevedo Quartet. But first up was the president of ICCR, Dr. Karan Singh, a learned pianist himself who performed the customary gig on the piano inaugurating the event.
Thank you very much for this musical inauguration of this.
When we talk of establishing collaboration, when we talk of establishing a dialogue with other countries in the area of culture, we need to understand and know their culture as much as we want them to understand and know our culture.
Music of the 20th century, jazz, is native to New Orleans. But in time, it was influenced by not just American, but African and European rhythms as well. And these many flavors were present in every performance. Packed with a piano, drums, a double bass, an alto saxophone and a trumpet. The Newborn Quintet played melodies from their latest album, Destined. That blend of trumpet with the alto sax made their music the perfect starter.
It's my music dedicated to everybody, to the people, to the listeners. So we want to make for our music to say what the people are we, what we play, what we feel in the music, what we feel around about the world and everything.
Wearing a ravishing red gown, Sylvie Bobun stole many a heart with her scintillating voice and piano performance. As improvisation is vital to jazz, she maintained that in her French and English tunes with Latino blends.
The autumn leaves of red and gold.
The crowd loved it even more when she, accompanied by her guitarist from Goa, Edwin Fernandez, sang popular jazz numbers, presenting them in the required quirky, scatting and sensuous manner.
Underneath jazz, you have a lot of different styles, and to me, I don't say it's the truth, but to me, jazz is more about the harmony, some structure with a lot of tensions in the chords, and then you have all kinds of rhythms. You have Latin, and you have ballads, and you have more improvised and intellectual. It depends, and I think jazz is freedom for that reason, because you can do anything and call it jazz.
The final band to perform were the Oscar Acevedo Quartet from Colombia, whose music was a mixture of Colombian music with jazz arrangements. Vocalist Gina Savino's husky skating voice blended perfectly with the soulful piano playing along.
I really like the changes coming out. I'm sort of old school. So old is gold. There are a lot of music that did not come to India when in the late 70s, something like that. And I'm liking it that they're bringing it into India, and the ambience, Lodi couldn't get any better.
Jazz has been demarcated as freewheeling music representing freedom. And each individual on stage played their music, which was both soulful, entertaining and fun.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Thank you.
With a jazz festival of that size, Delhi is soon on the fast-track mode of becoming one of those concert cities. But it's not just music that has its takers here. In fact, books and sessions with writers also have their space in the city, as was proved by Spring Fever. Spring Fever is sure catching on, and the amphitheatre of India Habitat Centre was dressed up for the occasion. Purple and white is the colour of this season, and everything was coordinated to match. A mini library on stage stocked the books of every participating writer, and the seating area for author discussions was right in the middle of all that. One of the sessions in the 7-day festival was called Friends in Small Places, and it had the grand old man of the hills, Ruskin Bond, along with fiction writer Sudha Murthy in conversation with Paro Anand, another writer of children's fiction.
When I was 7 and climbing trees, I stepped into a hive of bees. Badly stung and mad with pain, I danced the hip-hop in the rain. Hip-hop, I'm a nature boy, Mother Nature's pride and joy. When I was 12, still climbing trees, I fell instead and landed on my head. Feeling lighter, I thought I might become a writer. Hip-hop, dancing in the rain, a nature writer I became.
Because someone wants to tell me something which maybe people may be talking at my back, I will not even know. He said, you write very nice, but you don't.
Laughter, a few learns, intimate conversations, and of course an opportunity to meet your favorite writer. That is what Spring Fever is all about. With each passing year, the Spring Fever just gets better. Well, it's now time for me to take a teeny tiny break, so I will see you on the other side in just a split second. Coming up, the finer nuances of Kathak and motion-arrested poetry. Welcome back. The grace and grandeur of Kathak made it a hot favorite with the kings. A recreation of the grandeur ensured that Delhi got a close glimpse of those times.
Kathak, the dance of storytellers. A dance dedicated to the gods and cherished by the Nawabs and Maharajas. The Kathakas at that time used to sing and dance, which was a refreshing idea for the viewers. And keeping this art intact is Kathak Kendra's Kathak Mahotsav, a festival dedicatedly celebrating this dance form.
in my view, Kathak is the only dance form which has the standing position of as human being. You know, because as we stand normally, in Kathak also you stand like that. Because in all the classical dance forms, there is a stylization.
First was a Kathak duet by Murthy and Megharanjani Medhi. As Kathak is a game of fierce footwork, mastering the tal is the most important task. They presented flawless footwork on different tals. Not missing a single beat of the tabla playing along. Rapid and rhythmic feet tapping along with subtle gestures and movements of their abhinaya brought out the very essence of the dance.
धागे को रख के उसके ऊपर कितना एस्थेटिकली ब्यूटीफाई, वो तो करना ही चाहिए, हाँ करना ही चाहिए ना. जितना हो हम ये देखेंगे वो देखेंगे, सब देख देख के कितनी हमारा आँखें कितना खोल जाते हैं, कान भी खोल जाते हैं, आँखें भी खोल जाते, जितना कितना भी ब्यूटीफाई हो वो करने के लिए हम लोग ट्राई करते हैं.
Next was Vishal Krishna. Still a student of Kathak, his solo performance was highly enjoyed by the audience. He is the grandson of Nritya Samragini Sitara Devi, and Vishal's style incorporated all the unique and different flares of his gharana. He is the 11th generation of Kathak dancers from Banaras Gharana who brought in energy and many new moves to the stage. He also performed Sitara Devi's signature style, which covers the entire stage from one corner to other. The most exhilarating piece was the one inspired by Kuchipudi, where Vishal taps his feet standing on a brass plate. It was no wonder then that his performance got a standing ovation.
बहुत सारे ऐसे शोज़ होते आए हैं, सब फिल्मी ही होते हैं. कथक डांसर्स को लिया ज़रूर जाता है उन कॉम्पिटिशन्स में, बट बाद में वही हिप हॉप और वही कंटेम्प्रेरी यही सारी चीज़ें उनको कराते. तो एक ऐसा होना चाहिए जो सिर्फ कथक के ऊपर एक कॉम्पिटिशन हो, जिसमें दुनिया भर के बच्चे सिर्फ कथक को लेके वहाँ पे प्रेजेंट हो, तब पता चलेगा कि यंग टैलेंट कितना है हमारे इंडिया में.
Performing on Rag Mishra Gara, Shashwati and Vaswati Sen presented a duet depicting a scene where Gopikas leave behind their chores to get a glimpse of Krishna. They captured and delivered the storytelling aspect of the dance form without disturbing the rhythm.
For me, Kathak is this mixed a tradition who mixed music, vocal, poetry, gesture, and so rhythms and all these things. It is one and only one art. Everything is in one art. So that's why I'm interested, because I can see everything in that.
It has a kind of energy, it has a kind of enthusiasm, and it is something which leaves an impact, complete impact on the audience, where when you see from the starting the abhinay, the bhav, the proper technical movement of the Kathak.
Only practice can deliver the perfect thatt, the statuesque pose at the end of every tal. An interesting act was the Kathak lingo, where the performers' ghungru rang even when they had stopped tapping their feet by just faintly moving their legs.
After that energy-packed performance, we look at the same energy but in a different form in the frozen motion of sculptures.
The lush green lawn of the Hungarian Cultural Center was just the perfect place to host B.S. Chauhan's sculpture exhibition titled Metal Breathes Life. The metal sculptures depicting life juxtaposed with the thriving lawns filled with people brought out the theme even more.
Basically, I started picking up scrap metal and trying to make some figures out of it, because normally the waste metal is hardly any use. But I thought of utilizing it for some purpose to show something. And then ultimately I developed that although the steel is very hard, but can it denote some soft values of people and feelings? And that is where I have created a lot of those like here.
Along with showcasing his medium of self-expression, metal and steel. It was also a celebration of his 90th birthday. His works transcend human limits and focuses on those thoughts which easily escape the naked eye. The works talk of being cosmic and exponential, yet earthy and natural. Like his favorite sculpture, The Quest for Knowledge. The 6 metal frame depicts a love story. And the floating sculpture is that of a couple holding hands.
Any art can exude its own vibration, its own dynamism. But working with metal is very difficult, because metal is a very hard medium. But he's done it very successfully, as you can see. There are many thematic, for example, there's that extraordinary one there of justice denied, in which instead of the scales being equal, there's a stone in one and there's an owl seated on top. So these sort of things he does, it's quite extraordinary, I think.
Steel is normally a hard medium to work with, but in his deft hands, the sculptures radiate with tenderness, spontaneity, and vitality of its own. Like the stainless steel depiction of the hunter and the hunted, or At Peace, where a man's deep sleep reminds us of the Buddha. Or the bonding, where 2 stainless rings inserted onto a pillar.
It really gives something breathing to the metal, so it doesn't seem to be rigid with the figures, with the people, with the colors. It really gives life to the sculptures.
His sculptures go against conventional art and try to put forth the freshness and creativity present in our animated lives.
The way they were all put together, I'm sure that the exhibition will trickle your mind. Well, it's now time for us to go on a quick break, so I'll see you on the other side in about a minute. Up next on Food Trail, the taste of Ethiopia. Welcome back. Ethiopia is credited with the birth of civilization and humanity, and just this week, the Ethiopian Cultural Center was inaugurated here in Delhi. The center was inaugurated by the Ethiopian State Minister of Industry, Ato Tadesse Haile, in the presence of dignitaries from African nations and friends of Ethiopia.
I would like to welcome you to this cultural center, which has the purpose of introducing the various culture of Ethiopia to the Indian community.
Science tells us that this country, located in the Horn of Africa, is the birthplace of Homo sapiens and is therefore where civilization itself was born. The gallery of artifacts in the center is but a small introduction to the wonders of this African country. So I was just going through this particular brochure here which speaks about Ethiopia, and I'm not at all surprised when they're calling it the tourist paradise. But what brings me back to the cultural center in the morning hours is the restaurant that they have here. Yes, the cultural center also has a food place. So here we are to taste Africa and to taste Ethiopia. The food menu is concise, but one look around and I can see that the guests are really enjoying every bite.
I'm used to eat Italian food because it's not the first time I came there. But it's quite difficult for us coming from Italy, in the north of Italy, to eat spiced food. But in this occasion, I found this mutton very, very good because it tastes like the one I cook in Italy, you know, not the mutton, but roast or veal or something else. And the other vegetables were very good indeed.
Cuisine and food is an integral part of a culture. So the best way to talk about any culture is to promote that kind of a cuisine and the food. Here we are with Ethiopian food, and we have special chefs. They have come from Ethiopia, and we are the first one in this country to prepare the Ethiopian food and serve it in the most hygienically conditions. And most of the items you are getting it from Ethiopia. And the people have actually started liking this, and many people are coming to become a member only because of the food part.
Ethiopian chefs busy themselves in the super swanky kitchen to cater to my order. The national dish is the injera. 5 different grains are mixed together and left to ferment for a few days. This is then poured out and cooked as and when required. When Prime Minister Manmohan Singh visited Ethiopia some years ago, he mentioned how the national dish of Ethiopia, which is called injera, resembles the Indian dosa. Newspapers at that time called it the dosa diplomacy. Now it's our time to taste the injera and find out if it's really true or not. While shellfish and pork is avoided, vegetables and meat are elaborately used in the Ethiopian kitchen. A clear sign of religion influencing the way of life. The injera can therefore be paired with different types of curries called wats. The goman wat, for instance, is stewed spinach braised with lentils. The fasolia is Ethiopian green bean and carrot stew and is a spicy, chewy mix of roughly chopped vegetables with a distinct taste. I've noticed that the Ethiopian dishes are very mildly spiced. So the goman, for instance, which is an Ethiopian spinach dish, you can actually taste the very flavors of the spinach right there. And the same applies to the beans and carrot. It's very fresh and you taste the real goodness of the vegetable in question. If you are looking for a non-vegetarian meal, then they do have the torovat, which when translated means chicken curry. This is perhaps the best known food from this country. Large pieces of chicken and a boiled egg floats on thick gravy of coarsely ground onion paste. The redness of the dish comes from the use of the Ethiopian chili called the berbere, and honestly, it is all show and no fire. The dish also has a mutton version.
Just a lot of oil, but very mildly spiced.
Now that I'm done with the main course, it's time for some coffee. Dessert is not something that the Ethiopians take to, but they have something called a coffee ceremony, a rather elaborate process. So I'm going in for that now. And coffee, of course, is Ethiopia's contribution to the world. So I'm very, very excited about the coffee ceremony in the other room. Follow me. The Ethiopians take their coffee very seriously, and in the adjoining coffee room, I understood just how much. I huddled near the fire, helped in the roasting of coffee beans, and listened to stories from that faraway land. Once the aroma of freshly roasted coffee fills the room, it was time to grind and brew my drink. Fresh cups of strong coffee. The coffee here is really, really strong, but that's because it's just coffee beans, roasted coffee beans, no chicory, no milk, no sugar even. But it is a really good thing for headache, or so she says. And let me get back to my coffee. I'll see you next week, same time, same show. Do write to us through our Facebook page. And until later, goodbye.